Praise the Lord, viewers at home. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Welcome back to the third segment of Family Altar, where humanity meets divinity, the place of direction, and also the point of sacrifice. Look, I'm still with Mario Vee, and he's schooling us in his world. Mario, we touched base on rejection and pain and addiction. But I just want us now to focus on your recovery journey. Out of rejection and pain, now you are trapped into the wrong group.
Yes.
You are surrounded by what I can call, people who know how to mess up the dreams and the vision of others. Remember, we are not fighting against flesh and blood. But some other people, they operate under a certain kingdom, and that we don't want to mention here. So your recovery journey.
Okay, so just to touch a little bit on the
The
what you just
addiction part,
mentioned,
yes, yes.
um, when I found myself in the hands of the wrong company, um, taking my first drug actually gave me a false sense of peace.
But what were you using, if I may ask?
Oh, well, at first it actually started off with weed,
Okay,
and
okay.
then it escalated to ecstasy. From
Wow.
ecstasy, I then moved on to cocaine.
Sure.
From cocaine, it went on to crack.
Wow,
And I
wow.
just found myself trapped
Sure.
eventually because the first time I tried it, a drug, it gave me a false sense of peace, a false sense of belonging, a false sense of self-esteem, a false sense
Wow.
of confidence. So it allowed me to just step out into society and just to embrace myself because I was also
Jesus.
fighting the battles from
Yeah.
within of myself. It was
Sure.
my self discovery, the journey of allowing myself to just love myself. So the drugs actually gave me that false sense of comfort.
Sure.
So it allowed me to then step out into society and deal with the noise from around me and from what was actually
Wow.
going on within the community, within the church, within the family.
Sure.
And then during the process of my addiction, the drugging, and I then realized that I actually could not live without it.
Oh my
It was
God.
then too late. It was now addiction.
Oh God. Oh
And
God.
the struggle with the addiction, it was a journey that I lost jobs, I
Ash.
lost gigs. I reached a point of where I knew I either needed to make a conscious decision that I
Wow.
needed to fight to live or allow the drugs to actually kill me
Oh
or
wow.
destroy everything that I actually worked so hard to build and to achieve. And it was this one day I came home from a hectic night out, and it was then that
Sure.
by then, the drugs had consumed me. It was
Wow.
all over me. I could taste it. I could feel it.
Jesus.
It was in my veins. It was
Ash.
just everywhere. And it was at that time that I made the choice to actually quit. And little did I realize that that would actually be the most dreadful, most cruciating year of my life. The recovery process was extremely difficult.
Oh my God! Look. I know that the addiction is very expensive,
Oh, yes.
and sometimes people become vulnerable to a point of stealing. And how did you feed that habit? How did you
Well,
manage to feed it?
well, I was working as a makeup artist,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I was
Wow.
in the industry. So
Sure.
I always had a job, even though I was always losing jobs. I wasn't out of a job for long, so I
Wow.
always worked to sustain my addiction, but I only worked for drugs.
Sure.
I basically did not work for anything else. I got up. Drugs was my life. I didn't even reach the point where just to get up to go and do a gig, I actually needed to have a line. I needed a drug to get me out of bed.
Oh
I
my
needed a
God.
drug to get me
Yeah.
to work. Even when I was at work, I was also consuming drugs. So it was very, very expensive. And yeah, I just made me, I had not a cent because
Sure.
everything I did was just for drugs.
God is a promise keeper.
Absolutely.
And one thing certain about the story of Mario is that the prayers that the parents and the bloodline normally engaged in prior even you existed, they
Absolutely.
kept you.
Absolutely.
And how did you manage now to beat this demon?
Oh, to be honest with you, I couldn't do it without God
Oh yeah,
and prayer. Prayer
sure.
was the only thing that got me through my addiction. Without learning to, because there was also a time I even forgot how to pray.
Oh my
I
God.
needed to actually find God. I
Sure.
actually needed to now get back into allowing God to actually take control,
Wow.
because I actually had to hand over myself back to God. I needed God just to be present in my life. So
Wow.
during that time, all I did was just said, God, direct me, be the
Sure.
light at my feet, guide me, just uphold me. So, and with prayer came discipline. And with discipline also came forgiveness.
Oh yeah.
And forgiveness for me, it had to be forgiveness of self.
Oh
Because in
yes.
order
Oh yes.
for
Yeah.
one to actually step back into society or actually step back into the world, we all have done things we are not proud of,
Oh yeah.
but we all have, in order for us to actually get to the next step or to the next level, we actually have to let go of the baggage. We
Sure.
actually have to let go of the pain. We actually have to let go of the hurt. And we actually have to let go and ask God to allow us to
Oh yeah.
actually give us the ability to forgive ourselves
My
and to
God. My
forgive
God.
others for the
Yeah.
things that they have done.
God.
Forgiveness for me was one of the most important things I could have ever done for myself.
Sure. There is a saying that says you cannot give what you don't have.
Absolutely.
And in the journey of discovery where people want now to relate and to partner with God through fellowship, we normally have a challenge where people they become soulish. And now if they become soulish, they are driven by zeal. Remember, man in his tripartite being, his spirit, soul, and body.
Yes.
And in the soul, you have your conscience, you have your intuition, and your communion. And in your communion, that's where the worship must take place.
Absolutely.
And in your soul, you have the mind. You have your volition and your emotions.
Absolutely.
So, but now, if your spiritual side of it is not awakened and connected to the to the supernatural being,
Absolutely.
you are going to worship God now from the emotions. And I'd like us to you to take us through that the relationship that you had with God. That even though you were captured in that level of addiction, how did you find your way out of that by connecting to God? How was that connecting part of it?
Okay, well, for me, connection was very easy because I came
Wow.
from a Christian home.
Oh, yeah.
For me, the presence of God never left me.
Wow.
I always found myself in the realm of connecting. It was very easy for me.
Jeez. I wish you can just rewind and tell the viewers at home that look, the presence of God.
Yes.
Oh my God, tell them, man.
For me,
Hit them.
so for me, the presence of God never left me.
Wow.
I always found myself, like I said, in the realm of God. And that is
Jesus.
because I never forgot the way my parents actually grew me up. And I also never forgot what God had actually done for me.
Jesus.
And one thing I always did was I always had an affirmation where I always would sit in front of my mirror and I would affirm it over my life. Well,
Wow.
that I was
Wow.
always and I will always be engineered by God for success.
Sure.
And that God had promised me that He will take me to a life
Oh my God.
and He will take me through a life of prosperity. So for me, I always had that affirmation every morning, and I still do it today,
Oh
where I
yeah.
sit in front of my mirror when I'm painting my face in the morning, and I look at myself and I tell myself, I am engineered by God for success. And I live by that. And I allow God to just lead me and to guide me. And no matter what, I now learn to actually let go of the noise and just
Oh
to
my
be still
God. Oh my God.
and
Oh my
allow
God.
God to use me to motivate, to inspire, and to
Sure.
uplift. Because I do believe that I have a purpose. I do believe that God has a purpose for my life.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm allowing God to just use me and allow God to just guide me along this journey.
Sure. Sure. My God, Mario, sure, you are moving me because look, we all came to God broken.
Absolutely.
There is a way that God will always deal with you through the process.
Absolutely.
And the process is God also pruning part of it.
Absolutely.
And in our soulish nature, when you go through that process, then you become bitter, sometimes even stiff-necked. And now you
Absolutely.
end up now being a pretender. You know, you fake it so well, and people will think that you are still connected with God, but the relationship is gone because the joy, remember, the joy of the Lord remains our
That's
strength.
absolutely.
Viewers at home, wow, I hope you are learning. And I pray from the department of my heart, Hurimudima Autus, Apostle Malatse, I'm going to drink water and come back. Stay tuned. God bless.